Randy Fine is a congressman from Florida. He was here, a couple of months ago. We had him here in Kansas City for the Fight Anti-Semitism event that took place down at Union Station. I was emceeing it, and Randy Fine, a prominent Jewish member of Congress, was here in Kansas City. And he's hilarious. Now, he wasn't funny on CNN last night because it was not the venue to be funny. But he's a very funny guy. He's very personable. He's got a good relationship with the President of the United States. And he came here to Kansas City in a speech, and he knocked it out of the park. He was funny. And I don't know about you, but, I like funny people. I think we have a good sense of humor here on this show. But a really funny Jewish guy is just top of the list for me. I just love the sense of humor. I really do. Maybe because I embrace it myself. But it's just, it's the best. So here was Randy Fine going up against Dana Bash last night on CNN. And what they're talking about here is that Randy Fine has come out on social media, and he has said, if you're somebody who works for the state of Florida and you have social media posts that are celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination or downplaying it, we want to know about it. Now, once again, he's not going after private sector folks. He's saying if you have a relationship where you are partially employed, you're a teacher or you're a healthcare worker who obviously needs to get certain certificates from the state, we want to know about it. And here's what the back and forth sounded like.
Public official like you be mining your constituents to rat out people? Is that something that...
Absolutely.
Okay, but let's just say it was a Democrat saying to... a Democratic colleague saying to the entire district or the entire state of Florida, please tell me the people who are saying bad things about Joe Biden, Barack Obama during that time.
Yep.
You would have been outraged.
Well, bad things are one thing, but I did have a reporter actually a couple days ago say to me, well, did you say something like this when those Minnesota politicians were killed? I challenged that reporter. I said, and I'll do the same to you. If you can show me Republicans that are celebrating the death of that person who live in my state, right, I'll go after them too.
And nobody is saying that celebrating the death is a good thing.
But these people are doing it.
But the question is your role as a elected official, whether you should be taking that kind of action to search for people, and whether or not, particularly as somebody who is in a party where the president talks about the need for free speech.
This isn't free speech. This isn't free speech saying
it's not?
Charlie should be killed. I hope more people get killed.
It's horrible.
These are people. And by the way, I made a specific decision not to go after people in their private capacity. If you're a teacher in a public school who says that you should not be teaching our kids, you're a threat to our kids. If you're a nurse saying these things, you're a threat to the people you're taking care of. The number one job of government is to take care of their constituents and keep them safe. And I think I'm providing constituent service by doing it.
And he's exactly right. Randy Fine is providing constituent services by people who are, once again, at least given certificates or are employees of the state government. He's absolutely right. And I would apply that to the right and the left. Not people saying bad things like, Joe Biden stinks, but people who are celebrating the death of a political figure who are employed by the public, by the taxpayer. That's totally different. And I'll give you an example here locally. This is on my Facebook page from last night. You can find it, Pete Mundo on KCMO Talk Radio. This has gone viral. The owner of a boutique in Mission, Lulu's, has a shirt prominently displayed in their store that reads, "Is he dead yet?" And according to Kayla, who posted this story, she asked an employee there at the store what that was in reference to, and they said, well, President Trump, of course. So she posted this on social media, and Lulu's Boutique responded to the post on social media by saying, "We are not for everyone, and that is okay. You have plenty of other places to shop." Now, I don't think a Kansas politician, Sharice Davids is the congresswoman, so she's not going to do anything about it anyway. But I don't believe that a Republican member of Congress should be going after this boutique. In America, they have a right to sell that shirt. Now, we should call them out. We should highlight the fact that there is a place of business in Kansas City that is selling those shirts. and prominently displaying those shirts just over a week after we had a political assassination in this country. And, I don't think anybody should shop there, but that's your call. This is America. But that's different than, say, a teacher, right? Which is what Randy Fine was talking about in that clip. Or somebody who's a state employee. Somebody who needs a certificate from the state to take care of their citizens. A nurse, a doctor. Those are things that the government can investigate. That they have a responsibility on behalf of their constituents to investigate. That's different. They shouldn't go after the boutique owner who's selling a heinous shirt. That's not what the government should be doing. But when you're talking about a teacher, you're talking about someone who works for the state, that's a completely different animal. And that is worth investigating, which is exactly the point that Randy Fine is making in that clip. 913-408-7957, our studio line and our text line on KCMO Talk Radio. So that's the difference. Is it a private place of business, or is it somebody who requires public approval to do what they do for a living, or is hired by the taxpayer? And we've also got these issues in places like Gardner Edgerton, where there's a teacher who has gone viral, if you haven't seen this, for something that she posted on social media. This teacher, allegedly posted by someone named Leslie Hanzelka, wrote on Facebook last week, "I'm saving my empathy for the children that got gunned down in Colorado. None left for the terrible person who considered the slaughter of children to be an acceptable price to pay so that inadequate white men can pose naked in front of a mirror with a machine gun and pretend they're Rambo." I don't know what weird fantasy she has about white guys with guns pretending they're Rambo, but she apparently is being investigated by Gardner Edgerton as a school district. And according to reports and people I've heard from over the last 12 hours or so, she's allegedly only receiving a 2-day suspension. But Gardner Edgerton, according to some of the people that I've spoken to, is saying that they won't put anything out publicly because they're calling this a personnel matter. So that right there, that's a public school official. That's someone the taxpayer is paying for. Different than the boutique shop owner in Mission, who you really can't do anything about, in my opinion. 913-408-7957. Let's go to Tammy, you're first up, and Shawnee. Go ahead.
Hi, Pete. Last night I was watching Gutfeld, and they had a conversation very similar to this, and I just wanted to share. One of the things that Tyrus said on there is that, teachers, he talked about when he was a kid, and you didn't know anything about your teacher, really. You just knew that she taught you, and she loved you, and she taught you reading, writing, math, and arithmetic. And we've gotten away from that, unfortunately, and kids know a lot about us. If we're teachers, they know a lot about us, and if we're putting our material out on Facebook, our own political beliefs on Facebook, people have access to that and see that. Parents want to be the teacher's friend. Then it gets out what your beliefs are. You should not be putting every little thing out there, because you should keep those things private, because you have a job in which your job is to teach children the curriculum and not share your political views and not get into those types of things.
Well, what does it say, too, about your judgment, Tammy? Thank you. What does it say about your judgment when you're a teacher and you post this stuff on social media? It's bad enough to think it, but it shows such a lack of judgment to post it on social media that you should lose your job for that in and of itself, your lack of judgment. McKenna's in Topeka. Hi, McKenna. Good morning.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I was thinking about, I've been listening to you intently for the last week and a half, especially with everything that's happened with Charlie Kirk. And honestly, it's a little bit bewildering that, yes, we have a freedom of speech. Yes, we have freedom of expression. But this lack of knowledge about freedom of consequence has been mind-boggling. And not just on, the left, on the right, too. You can't just promote ideas that would be harmful to the public welfare.
Well, it's a fine line, right? Because how do you define what the public welfare is? But you're right. I mean, we have free speech to go out and say whatever you want against your government, but it doesn't protect you from threatening somebody or threatening a place of business or, obviously there's or getting fired by your employer, i.e. potentially Jimmy Kimmel.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into that. And I think that if people really just sat down and educated themselves on it, there's private organizations that have different rules, like with the FCC, there's people that are state funded, like teachers. You don't want these biases so blatantly displayed by people that you're hoping are able to communicate with the public at masses, especially those that are teaching your children.
I totally agree. I mean, you're spot on, McKenna. Thank you very much. And that's what this comes down to, at least in the Gardner-Edgerton story. Good stuff there. Is this something or someone that you think is responsible enough to be teaching kids when not only do they think what they think, they're foolish enough to post it on social media for the world to see? Does that person have the judgment to teach kids in the classroom? Amy's in Overland Park. Amy, hello. Good morning.
Hello.
Save your best stuff for the air, Amy. Save it for the air.
Okay.
What do you got for me, Amy?
Oh, so my nephew in Manhattan High School, started a Turning Point Club, and, way back. And the things they do is they do things for presidents. They do president quizzes. They put up flags for 9/11. So it's not really a Republican group, but just an America group. And the school board member in Manhattan posted when Charlie Kirk died that it was about time or something like that. And people dropped out of his club. The parents were scared for their kids. And now I just signed a petition the other day that she should not be on the board because she told her school that Charlie Kirk should be dead. And this poor boy, just these high school kids, are traumatized by it and are getting, at first he was getting not very nice things said about him, but now his membership to his club has gone up. People are sick of it.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Can you,
he's a school board member.
If you can email me any of that, I'd love to follow up on the story.
Oh, you got it. What's your email?
It's just Pete.Mundo, MUNDO @cumulus.com.
All right, you got it, Pete.
All right, thank you very much for that, Amy. We appreciate it.
All right.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be highlighting and calling out, because you're seeing a lot of people unmask themselves with evil ideology. I'm fine with people being wrong. Anyone can be wrong. You want to say Trump's wrong or, this person's wrong politically? Sure. Evil? That's what we're talking about here. Pure and utter evil. 913-408-7957. We'll get to more of your calls on this, and also why the narrative around Kimmel completely collapsed last night. Your calls on that coming up next. This fine line between what can get you fired and what can't get you fired, what should get you fired, what shouldn't get you fired, what businesses should be under potential legal attack and which ones should not be in the wake of this tragedy from 9 days ago when Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Utah. Well, the question is, what should happen to you if you're a business owner like in Mission and you have a shirt saying, "Is he dead yet?" referring to President Trump? That's a private business with a disgusting shirt that they are selling. They have freedom of speech. A teacher who is on the taxpayer dime, whether it's in Gardner-Edgerton, whether it is a nurse who needs a state certification, that's different, okay? That's then the job of politicians to some extent to make sure that the certificates and the employees who are funded by the taxpayer are responsible enough to hold these positions. Alex is in Overland Park. Hey, Alex, you're on KCMO.
Hey, Pete. Yeah, so I'm a nurse, and I find it just so disturbing that healthcare workers or teachers, people who serve the public would be behaving in this way. And the example that I give is that our job is not to ever judge our patients. And if you actually fulfill the requirement, whether it's the emotional and mental capacity of being a healthcare worker, your primary job is to serve your patient, not to judge them. So even if you had the biggest scumbag on the planet, some criminal, even an example of a school shooter coming in who has been injured by law enforcement or something, who ended up in your facility, your job is to give that patient the best care possible. It's not to judge whether or not they deserve to be helped or mistreated or treated poorly, whether it's physically or emotionally. It doesn't matter what you think of what they did or who they are. Your job as a healthcare worker is to treat your patient. And I will also say this really upsets me as a nurse, because over the last, probably since COVID, but probably even leading up to that, healthcare workers have done a disservice to their reputation by basically kind of being distrustful through some of the medical information that has been given out there, whether it was COVID or some of these other kind of more, like current topics about vaccines and things like that, where the medical community has lost its trust.
You're right.
People just don't trust us anymore. And then on top of it, we have code of ethics that we actually have to sign off on for social media posts with our organizations. So you shouldn't be surprised if you're a nurse and you post this and you lose your job.
Yep.
I mean,
it's all well deserved. It's all well deserved, Alex. And thank you for doing what you do as a nurse. We appreciate you checking in this morning. You're absolutely right. There are codes of ethics that you have to abide by. And, you got to take care of people oftentimes who you may disagree with on everything, prominent people or not prominent people. That can't get in the way of you doing your job. And some of these heinous things being posted on social media, prime example of why, with that code of ethics that you agree to comes a lot of responsibility. So with Jimmy Kimmel now in particular, he's still on indefinite leave. There was a big narrative over the last 24 hours that this was driven by President Trump and this was driven by Brendan Carr, who's the head of the FCC. Two different outlets, the Wall Street Journal and the Hollywood Reporter, both putting that narrative to rest yesterday, saying it was the Disney CEO, Bob Iger, who made the call along with co-chair Dana Walden to suspend Jimmy Kimmel after he planned to double down on camera to defend what he said on Monday night. The Hollywood Reporter and the Wall Street Journal both reporting that. So to be clear on the facts here, a supposed comedian decided in the wake of the assassination of a prominent conservative, called the shooter MAGA, which was a lie. And when his network asked him to tone it down, he said he was going to come out and double down on that once again. And our media is up in arms because they wanted him to do it. That's why they're up in arms. And that's why they're lying about the whole thing. It had nothing to do with Trump or Carr. Multiple reports now showing, and they're not right-wing outlets, the Hollywood Reporter, saying this was a Disney call and Kimmel wouldn't back down.